All right, so get ready because today we're diving into some seriously wild tech predictions for 2025. You guys sent over a ton of articles about what to watch out for, and things are about to get really interesting. We're talking crypto, making a comeback, AI getting way too personal. I'm talking like managing your diary, giving relationship advice, basically running your whole life.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking specifically at this BBC technology article called Cryptocurrencies and Personal AI, Tech to Watch Out For in 2025.
Okay, so let's jump right into crypto. Remember back at the end of 2022, the whole FTX meltdown, billions of dollars just gone. Everyone was freaking out.
Yeah.
It really felt like the whole crypto dream was basically imploding.
Yeah, it's a huge hit to the whole sector. A lot of people lost faith, and the future of crypto, it was looking pretty uncertain.
And then, plot twist. Trump wins the 2024 election and suddenly Bitcoin is like skyrocketing, breaks through that $100,000 ceiling. What's the deal with that?
Well, there's a lot of speculation that Trump's win is tied to this surge. He's been talking about turning the U.S. into a crypto haven. And then you've got his new SEC chairman, Paul Atkins, who's known for being pretty pro-crypto. So that's raising some eyebrows.
So from crypto is a scam to let's make America the crypto king. That's quite a turnaround. But how would he even go about doing something like that? Like, what policies could actually make this happen?
Well, one of the things that people are talking about is this thing called SAB 121.
SAB 121.
It's an SEC guidance. Basically, it makes it super difficult for banks to get involved with crypto. So if Trump were to, remove or revise this, it could open up a lot of institutional investment.
Wait, hold on a second. Can we back up for a sec? What exactly does this SAB 121 thing do? I'm sure a lot of our listeners might not be super familiar with all the ins and outs of financial regulations.
Yeah, it's pretty against stuff. But basically, it makes banks really hesitant to hold crypto assets because it creates all these complex accounting rules.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of uncertainty and potential liability. So if that were to change, banks could actually become major players in the crypto market.
Got it. And the article says this could be a huge game changer. There's a quote here from Jeffrey Kendrick, who leads digital asset research at Standard Chartered, and he says that with Trump winning, we could see what he calls proactive regulation and the removal of some negative regulation, which will then allow banks and other institutions into the space. So are we talking like a crypto boom in 2025? Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Of course, there are always risks. I mean, more institutional investment could lead to, greater volatility in the market.
Yeah.
We also need to think about the potential for regulatory capture. It's a complicated landscape for sure.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the next big thing, AI. And I gotta admit, this one's a little unsettling for me. Like, AI in my phone, okay, fine. But now they want it managing my whole life.
Right.
My diary, my relationships, even like my most private thoughts and feelings. That feels like we're crossing a line.
Yeah, I think it's a valid concern. It's true that in 2025, AI is becoming increasingly personalized. We're talking about AI assistants that can schedule your appointments, remind you about important dates, even analyze your communication and suggest, who to network with or who to avoid.
Okay, I gotta admit, some of that sounds kind of useful.
Right.
But then you start thinking about what kind of access AI would need to do all that. We're talking about giving it access to our deepest secrets, our therapy notes, our medical records, even like the names of people we'd rather not bump into.
Absolutely. It raises a lot of really serious questions about privacy and control. Like, do we really want to hand over that much power to, an algorithm? Remember what happened with Microsoft's recall tool a few years ago?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that the thing that was constantly like taking screenshots of your desktop? What were they thinking?
Yeah, the idea was to help people find content they had seen before. But the privacy implications were pretty huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it never actually launched because of the backlash.
Right. And it's a good reminder that even these big tech companies, they can get it wrong sometimes. So how do we find that balance, between convenience and creepiness, I guess, when it comes to personal AI?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. There's a quote in the article from Microsoft's head of AI, Mustafa Suleyman. He says that he believes we're moving to a fundamentally new age where there will be ever-present, persistent, very capable co-pilot companions in your everyday life. But how comfortable are we with that level of integration,
It's tough. On one hand, I get it. It's appealing to have something that like anticipates your needs and just makes life easier.
Right.
But on the other hand, the thought of an algorithm having that much insight into my life is, wow, kind of freaking me out, honestly.
And it's not just a personal issue, it's a societal one.
True.
We need to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of all of this
Yeah.
and set clear boundaries for how we want AI to be developed and used.
You're absolutely right. It's not just about convenience. It's about our fundamental rights to privacy and autonomy. So speaking of AI, let's zoom out a bit and talk about something that might seem a little less exciting, but it's actually really important: data centers. Apparently, Europe is about to see a massive influx of these things. What's the connection to AI?
Well, think about it this way. AI is basically this giant data-hungry monster. It needs tons of information to learn and do its thing, and all that data needs to be stored and processed somewhere.
Right.
That's where data centers come in. They're basically the backbone of the whole AI revolution.
So all this AI development is driving a huge demand for data centers. The article says we could see $1 trillion invested in them over the next 5 years. But why Europe specifically?
Well, Europe's data center capacity is expected to grow by 9% annually, and existing tech hubs, like London, are running into some limitations.
Limitations, like what?
Well, the cost of land in places like London is insane, especially for data centers, which take up a ton of space.
Yeah, makes sense.
In some cases, we're talking like 17 million per acre.
Hmm.
And then there are concerns about the electricity supply, being able to keep up with demand.
So it's a combination of cost and capacity that's pushing developers to look for other options. But where are they going instead?
Well, the article highlights a few cities: Cambridge, Manchester, and Birmingham in the UK. And then they're also looking at places like Prague, Genoa, Munich, Dusseldorf, and Milan elsewhere in Europe. These places offer more affordable land and better access to resources.
Wow, that's a huge shift. Imagine what that's going to do to those cities. We're talking job creation, changes to infrastructure, maybe even a whole new tech culture emerging.
Absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to see how all those cities adapt to this influx of data center development.
And of course, you can't have all this AI stuff without the hardware to back it up. And it sounds like there's one company that's about to become the undisputed king of AI hardware: NVIDIA.
You're talking about their new Blackwell chip, right?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be coming out in 2025, and it's creating a lot of buzz.
Yeah, the article describes it as a game changer. We're talking about AI training that's 4 times faster and operations that are 30 times faster than anything we have now. How is that even possible?
Well, I won't get too technical, but NVIDIA has made some big breakthroughs in chip design and architecture. So basically, Blackwell is optimized for AI in a way that previous chips just weren't.
So this is like the holy grail of AI hardware. Everyone's going to want it, right?
Absolutely. But
Right.
there's a catch. The supply is expected to be really limited, at least at first.
Oh, okay.
The big tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and CoreWeave, they're probably going to get first dibs because they have those relationships with NVIDIA and the money to secure big orders.
So what's a smaller tech company supposed to do? Are they just out of luck?
It's going to be a challenge, that's for sure. They might have to get creative, form partnerships, focus on niche applications that don't need as much power, or explore other hardware options.
Sounds like 2025 is going to be a year of some fierce competition in the AI space. You know what I'm wondering, though? If you were running a tech company, what would you do to get your hands on this game-changing chip?
Wh-
Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break and come back to that question. Don't go anywhere.
I think I'd be looking at every possible way to get a hold of those NVIDIA chips.
Yeah.
Maybe even think about like pre-orders or working with the bigger companies that are going to get them first. The potential is just too big to ignore.
It's like a gold rush, but for AI hardware.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got crypto maybe making a comeback, AI getting super personal, and data centers popping up all over Europe. What else is in this BBC article? What else is happening in 2025?
Well, one thing they talk about is how AI is going to affect the job market. People have been talking about this for years, but it seems like 2025 could be like a turning point.
Yeah, every time AI comes up, job security isn't far behind. The article paints kind of a bleak picture for some jobs. Journalists, lawyers, even coders are at risk of being replaced. Are we all going to be out of a job soon?
Well, it's not necessarily about AI replacing people completely. It's more about like a shift in what skills are going to be important. AI will probably automate a lot of tasks that humans do now, but that'll free up people to focus on more creative and strategic stuff and things that involve people skills.
So it's less about being obsolete and more about adapting. We need to be thinking about upskilling, retraining, and learning how to work with AI, not compete against it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a societal shift, not just a technological one. We should be thinking about education, retraining programs, and safety nets to support the people who lose their jobs because of automation.
And the article does say that even though some jobs might disappear, AI is going to create new ones too. What kind of jobs are we talking about?
Well, we're likely to see a big demand for AI specialists, data scientists, ethicists, and people who can connect the dots between humans and machines. Think about it. Someone's got to design, build, maintain, and regulate all these AI systems.
So it's not all bad news. It's more like things are getting shuffled around. The job market's going to look different in 2025, but there will still be tons of opportunities for people who can adapt and learn new stuff.
Totally. It's about embracing change and seeing it as a chance to, level up your skills or even try out a new career path.
Okay, let's talk about another area where AI is expected to be big: healthcare. I've heard so much about AI-powered diagnosis and treatment planning. It sounds like we're close to some major breakthroughs.
For sure. AI could change healthcare in so many ways. It can analyze medical images, pick up on things that humans might miss, and help doctors make quicker and more accurate diagnoses.
It's not just about diagnosis, though, right? The article also talks about AI-powered robotic surgery, personalized medicine based on your DNA, even virtual nurses. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It really is. And it's incredible to think about how AI could improve patient outcomes, reduce costs, and make healthcare more available to people all over the world.
But of course, with new technology comes new challenges. Data privacy is a big worry, especially when you're talking about sensitive medical info. And we got to make sure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly.
You're right. Human oversight and strong ethical rules are key. We can't just blindly trust algorithms with our health. We need to make sure AI is used to support human expertise, not replace it.
Speaking of things that sound straight out of sci-fi, let's talk about the metaverse. Remember a few years ago when everyone was talking about it? Is that still a thing?
The metaverse might have quieted down a bit with all the AI hype, but it's still happening. In 2025, we should see some big improvements in virtual reality and augmented reality, and that's what's going to drive those immersive digital worlds.
So it's not just about games and entertainment anymore.
No, not at all. The article talks about using it in education, training, even working from home. Imagine going to a lecture in ancient Rome virtually, or practicing surgery on a digital patient, or working with colleagues in a shared online space. The possibilities are pretty crazy.
It does sound futuristic, but also a little creepy. Do we really want to spend all our time in a virtual world? What about real life and interacting with people face to face?
I get that. The metaverse raises questions about how we relate to technology, what's real, and even the potential to feel isolated. It's something we need to think carefully about as these technologies keep developing.
It's like we're at this crossroads trying to figure out how much we want technology to be a part of our lives. Do we jump in and embrace these virtual worlds, or do we take it slow and make sure we don't forget what's really important in life?
Yeah, finding that balance is going to be one of the biggest challenges in the next few years.
And speaking of challenges, the article brings up the role of governments in all this. It seems like governments all over are struggling to keep up with how fast technology is changing.
Yeah, it's complicated. Some people say governments should stay out of it and let innovation happen. Others think we need stricter rules to protect people, prevent monopolies, and deal with ethical concerns.
It's a tough balance. Too many rules can stifle new ideas, but not enough can lead to all kinds of problems.
That's why it's so important for governments, tech companies, researchers, and the public to talk to each other and work together. We need to find a way to make technology work for us while also protecting our values and keeping ourselves safe.
The article specifically mentions the EU's AI Act, which is supposed to start in 2025. It sounds like it could be a big deal for regulating AI.
It's definitely something to watch. The AI Act wants to categorize AI systems based on how risky they are and have stricter requirements for high-risk applications, like the ones used in healthcare, law enforcement, and essential services.
So it's not about banning AI altogether, but making sure it's being developed and used in a responsible way.
Exactly. It's a step towards having a framework for responsible AI development and use worldwide.
Wow, we've covered a lot today. Crypto, AI, the metaverse, jobs, healthcare, even government regulations. It looks like 2025 is going to be a year of massive change and disruption.
Definitely a time of uncertainty, but also a time with huge opportunities. The choices we make now are going to have a big impact down the road.
So before we wrap things up, what are some key things our listeners should keep in mind as they navigate this crazy tech-driven world? It really does feel like we're standing at the edge of a whole new world, trying to figure out where to go from here. But before we go any further, you were going to share some key takeaways for our listeners. What should they be thinking about as we head into this super techie future?
I think the biggest thing to remember is that technology, it isn't just some neutral force. It changes how we live, work, and even how we think. We might not even realize it. We need to be aware of that and, really look at these changes and ask ourselves the hard questions. How is all this impacting our lives? How is it affecting society as a whole?
It's not enough to just go along with the flow. We need to actually be involved in shaping the future we want.
Exactly. And the future, it's not some fixed point. It's something we build with our choices. There are so many possibilities, and tech is just one part of it.
So we're not just heading for some inevitable, tech apocalypse. There's still hope for a future where tech makes our lives better without taking over completely.
Oh, absolutely. But it takes awareness, involvement, and a willingness to challenge what we think we know. We need to be asking, what kind of future do we want? What role should technology play? What can we do to make sure technology is helping people, not the other way around?
Okay, those are some really big questions. And speaking of big questions, there's one more thing from the BBC article that I wanted to get your thoughts on. It's a little out there, but it definitely makes you think. Could AI become smarter than humans?
The singularity, the idea that AI gets so advanced that it surpasses human intelligence.
Yeah.
And who knows what happens then?
It does sound like a sci-fi movie. But the article says that some pretty smart people are taking this idea seriously.
Yeah, it's not totally crazy to think about. I mean, we're already seeing AI doing stuff that we used to think only humans could do. Composing music, writing poems, even designing experiments. AI keeps evolving at this crazy speed, so it's not impossible to imagine a future with super intelligent AI.
So then what happens to us? Do we end up bowing down to our AI overlords? Or could we live alongside them peacefully, maybe even benefit from their super intelligence?
That's the big question. There are tons of possibilities, from AI solving all our problems to AI turning against us. At the end of the day, it comes down to the choices we make right now. How we design, build, and use AI will shape what happens next.
It's kind of amazing and terrifying to think about. I guess the only thing we know for sure is that the future's uncertain, and the possibilities are both exciting and scary.
It's definitely an interesting time to be alive, wouldn't you say? We're on the edge of something new, and we have the power to shape it.
Well said. So I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the future of tech. We've covered a lot today, from crypto and AI to the metaverse, jobs, healthcare, and even, the possibility of AI outsmarting us all.
It's been quite the journey, and I hope everyone listening has a better sense of both the amazing potential and the huge responsibility that comes with all these new technologies.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's not just about what tech will do to us, but what we'll do with it. We have the power to shape the future, to use tech for good or not. It's our choice. So to everyone listening, stay curious, keep asking questions, and most importantly, stay informed. The future is in your hands.
Well said. And thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of tech. We'll be back soon to explore more fascinating topics, so stay tuned.
Until next time.